Welcome to Melanated and Spiritually Woke. I'm your host, Adorable Earth Angel. I'm a holistic wellness educator of 12 years with a master's in public health, energy healing of 7 years, and have been a Black female spiritual alchemist my whole life. Each week, we'll be sharing uplifting, spiritually focused wellness practices to best support you in regaining your personal power, or we'll have special guest interviews with the same intention. This show is in service to all those listening, and especially for folks of color who are seeking information to support their physical, mental, and emotional spiritual awakening. These practices will help you live your best life. Hi, thank you so much for coming back and listening. If you have been listening for a while, I just want to say thank you. And for those of you who are checking the show out for the first time, welcome. Welcome to a space for melanated people to ponder and to sit with these themes of new age and healing and wellness. And for me, just kind of a platform to explore when in the past there wasn't an opportunity to really explore these topics. I remember as a child kind of thinking about healing and thinking about energy, and I probably didn't have that terminology when I was younger, but just wondering about alternative ways of knowing myself. I remember doing that. I remember kind of playing in the dirt and just thinking about what is all of this about? Some kids are probably just playing in the dirt, but my mind was like, so I'm here on this earth, what am I doing here? And so as an adult, it's fun to kind of play in the dirt with you and talk about this and unpack this stuff. So today it's an opportunity for us to have some sort of conversation. You may not actually say anything back to me. You might be talking back to the radio. You might be intrigued. You might be outraged. I don't know what this show can promote in one's being, but I really am grateful that you're listening, because as I do this show, a huge part of what I'm doing is I'm channeling. And what channeling means, and if you've heard me say this before in the show, channeling is this idea. When I was younger, I would go to church and they say, you get touched by the Holy Ghost. Well, it's this channeling for me is just connecting in and tapping into oneness, tapping into my divine spirit guides, my angels, my ancestors. It's tapping into this higher energy. And so when I started to open my mouth to share what this show is about each time, I have a little bit of notes, but mostly I'm just listening into this higher frequency. And it's not something that is unique to people like myself. Anyone and everyone channels, and we do it in different ways. And it's when we're allowing ourselves to really be in the flow. There's that thing that you do outside of a screen, outside of TV or the computer. But there's something that we each do in this world where we get in a zone. We get in a zone, and for me, it's I know it's when I'm creating with my hands, when I'm making art, or when I'm doing healing practices. I can feel my hands connecting with energy, and it feels good. It feels good to kind of name that's what's happening. And so there's ways in which in this show that I'm empowering us to really claim the fact that we know way more than just the everyday, and that the power of prayer is so big. The power of prayer is this energy that creates a channel for us to kind of pull ourselves through to a new place, a new state of being. And if that was a really convoluted way of basically saying I believe when I'm channeling for this show, when I'm pulling down information for this show, I'm leaning into a prayer that I've casted. I'm leaning into a prayer that I've been with, and I'm actively engaging with my prayer. And I think that's what channeling really is you taking a moment and actively engaging with the prayer. And for this week, I bring in a lot of astrology, and I've looked at the astrology for the week, where the planets are at and how they're connecting and talking. And I keep it very basic. I don't really get into heavy aspects and squares on this show. I mean, not yet. I just kind of look at where the energies are hanging out at. And I think it's important. I think it's important to note that these astrological bodies are like tools for us to connect with and understand ourselves through. And I know I've really have been able to get very clear on my life's work based on my astrology chart. Like it really does say it there. If you're ever curious about that, you can go to cafeastrology.com and pull up your birth chart and just start to, if you've never looked at your birth chart, it might look weird and be like, what is all of this? Another really great website is called Chaos Astrology. And what I love about Chaos Astrology is that their interpretations are really user friendly. So if you're looking for like a really good birth chart interpretation, I would do Chaos Astrology because I like their descriptions. I think they're really succinct and they're easy. Astrology Cafe, their descriptions are okay, but they're kind of like, it's long and it's a lot of words and sometimes it doesn't make sense. So I would say if you're new to astrology and you hear me talk about astrology a lot on this show and you want to know more about your specific birth chart, I think chaos astrology, just like chaos, I think that for me is like that hits the head on the nail for like a noob that wants to get into it. So let's get into the astrology for this week. We have the sun in Scorpio and it's going to be going into Sagittarius. And that's really exciting. The sun in Scorpio, happy birthday to all my Scorpios out there. The sun in Scorpio has really been about illuminating this scorpionic energy of transformation. And so some of us may have been feeling and visibly kind of seeing in our lives opportunities to heal and to clear and to also flex that power, kind of flex that channel I talked about. Like another thing when I think about channeling is I definitely think about Scorpio, because it's this energy of basically summoning your power, of owning your power. And when the sun is there, it's like, it's unmistakable. It's in this moment that I'm hearing for you, friend, who's listening, like, it's time for you to claim your power for reals. Like, for reals. Like, it's time for you to claim your spiritual identity on this planet. And the Scorpio and the sun connecting really creates like a giant flashlight and it shines its light on the area that really makes that possible. And so wherever Scorpio is in your birth chart, that's going to significantly determine, where the light is going, where the power and the energy is going. And so the sun is supercharging this kind of Scorpio energy in your chart. So if you have Scorpio in your third house, it's these conversations, these deep and penetrating conversations that are being, empowered. You're being empowered to speak your truth. That's the best way I can think about that. It's like, and if Scorpio is, say, in your 11th house, it's in your dreams and your ideas and your community and your friends. It's like the deep bonds and the deep connections and the reciprocity. And so it's shining a light and wanting to strengthen your sense of self amongst your friends and who empowers you and who tears you down. So that's important to note, because every time we have people in our lives who strengthen us, it further tightens the weave, so to speak, the thread. It tightens up the threads of pulling us through to a greater victory for ourselves. Because who we surround ourselves with is literally who we are. I'm going to say that again. Who we surround ourselves with is who we are. And so being very selective about our friends and our connections Because we can only grow and get as big as the spaces that we are connected with and the people that we're connected with. And another thing that happens that I speak to a lot on this show is as you meditate, as you eat good foods, as you sleep and drink water and have the energy, have like a balanced holistic life, your vibration will raise. And for some of my listeners out there, wherever you are in the world, you're at a frequency where your vibration is getting raised, because this planet overall, it may not look like it. Some of us may go, oh my God, the world is ending, climate change, all these crazy political corrupt leaders. But to be honest, that is also the archetype of Scorpio that you may be witnessing and unfolding, is that Scorpio has this ability to really reveal deep, dark secrets about what is hidden, and in the revealing of that. So, for instance, the revealing of friends who aren't in alignment with your highest truth, the revealing of maybe moments in which you restrict your voice and you restrict your throat chakra, you don't let yourself express. And in that revelation, there can be a clearing and a healing. And that's ultimately what's at the hearth, what's at like the core qualities of the sun transiting in this space. It's really allowing us to purify and to recharge and recommit to being truth tellers, even when it's hard. Some of us have done a really great job in separating ourselves from people who we love, but just are not really helping us push ourselves forward. Some of us also recognize out there that it's actually time to maybe just part ways. And it's not that these people are bad people, but it's more so that at a certain point, if your frequency is vibrating really, really fast, you vibrate out of range of some people, or even some ideas or jobs, or there's ways in which maybe you need to reestablish the relationship with your children so that it's more harmonious and in alignment. And so there's so many different ways to kind of tap in to this frequency of change. And for some of us, we've been praying for change for years, maybe even a decade. And there's been this pain if you've been asked to be stretched by the universe. And you know who you are, right? Where you've been like, I've been praying for a change in my life for more than a year, for more than 2 years, for more than 3 years. And what we're coming to find now is, as we're going into these bigger aspects, definitely a lot of astrologers are talking about what's taking place in 2020 and all of the karmic energy that's swirling around us, all of the ways in which we find that all of the injustices, all of the patriarchy, all of the bigotry, all of the sexism and the racism and the isms, all of the internalized depression that we've sustained through generational traumas, all of it, all of that is like, if you've been able, I just want to say, if you're listening to this show, I just want to say congratulations for surviving all of that. No matter who you are, what background you come from, it's really a big deal to be here on this planet. It's such a big deal to be here on this planet right now, because there's so much that we could be internalizing and holding on to. And maybe even some of us are still in this process of allowing ourselves to not internalize all of the hurt and all of the pain that has surfaced in the past, specifically since 2012, because that was a big energetic shift in our lives. the Mayan calendar, everyone predicted it was the end of the world. It was actually the end of the world as we knew it. And I've spoken about this before, but it felt necessary to repeat that and to be repetitive, because I'm just wanting to normalize that no one here is crazy. That if it is felt like a lot, like if you felt the pressures and the turmoil, and you can, if you're like me, you can feel the turmoil of the world, and you can feel the injustices, and maybe you even feel areas of your life that have felt completely stuck in cement, and maybe have moved an inch. And that is this Capricorn expression that we've been dealing with. And what I mean by that is right now we have Saturn in Capricorn. We have Pluto in Capricorn. Venus is going to be going into Capricorn next week. And so right now, even though we haven't even gone into Sagittarius season, there's just been this really big heavy load around Capricorn energy. And the thing about Capricorn energy is it is always going to create a weight to our life. There's always going to feel like a burden, like an aspect of our life that feels this burden and this heaviness. And within that, there's also this joyful expression of like the mother load. And what I mean by that is there's moments where things feel really stuck and big and heavy. And when we have Saturn and Capricorn together, what I feel in here is like, it's time for you to roll up your sleeves and you just do the work. And the work may look like a lot of quote unquote failing. It may look like just failure and a lot of no's and a lot of just like creating and building up infrastructure. You building yourself up, you building up your knowledge, you building up your network, you building up your net worth. And with all of that building, with all of that creating, there's a pathway forward. There's a pathway towards going into like a new chapter of your life. And like what could happen is that all of that energy of being placed in Saturn and Capricorn means that every single other aspect of your life is having to bow down to this bigger chapter. That, you know, it's bowing down to all of these fun, frivolous things that you used to do with your friends, or all of this kind of like light and joyful energy is asked to being funneled into this serious, like being very ardent, being very, being very hardworking. We're being asked to work really, really hard right now. And so humans, we love, a lot of us are into hard work, especially in America, because America's birth chart is very much about hard work. It's like it was America was founded in the energetics of slavery, literally just grueling work. Like that is in the DNA of Americans, regardless of skin color. It's because it was what happened here. And so when you start a country in slavery, chances are that country is going to be a country that's cemented in the energetics of working really hard, because it's in the, like the buildings and the finance and everything was built on slaves who were working to death at times. And that's like, that type of energy doesn't just disappear overnight. And that's why right now people are like committing suicide and people are really burning out. And you just hear about all these different things that people that work, toxic workplace environments and people working 80-hour weeks. And that is kind of a full circle dovetail moment. And there's a complete correlation to slavery in the modern day workspace. Like those things are like completely connected. I'm just being told to share that. And so it's like another thing that we're thinking about is like, can we buy into a new dream? Can we buy into a new reality that isn't so much asking us to maintain and uphold a tragic and horrible reality for our ancestors? Is there a new economy? Is there a new professional way that we can move forward? And I feel energetically like those things are those strides are being made. There was recently Microsoft in Japan tried a 4-day work week, which didn't eliminate the amount of hours you were working. It just condensed it over 4 days instead of 5, and it would give people 5-day weekends. And so, I mean, I think we need to lower the work week down to 32 hours a week. Like, I think that would be working 4 days a week for 32 hours. I think that is a healthy work-life balance for people to be able to be with their children, to be able to enjoy the quality of life. And of course, that would be contingent upon us having livable wages, which is also, again, another theme of slavery. Because in slavery, there were no wages. And so right now, you hear the term slave wages. And so everyone's connecting with the economy in different ways. Some people listening may feel completely secure financially, be in a great job, have no issues, not feeling overworked. Somebody out there listening is experiencing all these things, feeling under or unemployed, the feeling of not really being able to move the needle. Because Capricorn is so, in Saturn, it's so much about this outward expression of our reputation and the value that we add to society. And it's been hard for us to really feel like we're adding the value and getting recognized for the value that we're adding. But very soon those energies are shifting. And a lot of astrologers are looking at 2020, because in 2020, we're going to have, right now we have Jupiter in its home sign Sagittarius. And for some of us, that's been very expansive, but it hasn't really brought the goods. Like, Jupiter in Sag is supposed to be ridiculously lucky. And for some of us, we've had some kind of ooh, or like these little tiny lucky things. But a lot of us are kind of like, where are my coins? Where's my bag? Like, where's this big kind of, where's the big one? Where's the big catch? And there's been a bit of a cosmic frequency where there's been all these squares happening and aspects happening to Jupiter that have kind of held up the goods. Now, we're going to be having Jupiter leave Sag. And as Jupiter leaves its home sign, there will be hopefully a big giant gift for everyone, because Jupiter likes to leave a gift before it leaves. It's like that. It's that party guest that comes with gifts, like the one that you want to keep inviting back. Not the person that comes up and eats all the food and leave. But the guest that brings things with them. And so what we have here is we have the opportunity with Jupiter transitioning from Sag to finally get something beautiful, something we've been praying for. But then it's going to join Pluto and Saturn in Capricorn. It's going to be transitioning into Capricorn. And this is something that everyone's talking about. And a lot of us believe that when this activates in this way, we're going to be seeing some big shifts on the world stage, which impacts our lives directly. And what happens when planets conjunct, that means that they all are in alignment in a particular area of the sky. And that amplifies the message of that part of the sky. And so it's going to be about 22 degrees of Saturn, and that message is going to be amplified. And so wherever 22 degrees of Saturn is in your chart, that's where you're going to have three giant planets have a conversation. And then us earthlings are going to feel the repercussions of that conversation. A lot of people think this conversation really is the real big beginning fall of patriarchy. One beautiful astrologer that I want to get on the show, she talks about the connections between slavery and she talks about the astrology that was happening during the formation of slavery. And she was noting that it was very, actually, that it was almost the stars and the swirl that's happening in 2020 that starts in January, by the way, so it's very soon. Those same indicators are there that were there when slavery was enacted. So she believes that this is kind of us not undoing slavery, but that the just due of all of the karmic energy is finally coming and circling back onto itself, because we haven't seen this formation since the 1800s, basically. Maybe even the 1700s, but it's been a long time since we've seen the planets have this specific conversation. And so we don't quite know exactly what's going to happen in 2020, but there's a prayer that it's going to be about some big devastating changes for patriarchy that we're going to be able to create through our prayers and through our social justice. We're going to be able to create an opening for us to have a new sense of reality, a new hope moving forward. And so I'm just wanting to share with everyone to hang in there and to be hopeful and to channel your energy for good and to recognize that we individually make up the body of this planet, that this planet is our home, that we are the children of Mother Earth, and that where we put our focus really does amplify what we care about and who we're about. And so I just want to invite you to be in this place of helping to pave a new path forward. And I mean, that can look like a lot of things for different people. I know that the prayer that I'm hearing is around kind of like imagining that you can kind of channel and you can kind of flow within your prayers positive energy towards this new pathway, this new kind of oneness, this new love frequency. And I think that if everyone listening, if we just take a moment and we send light to the frequency of oneness and love, that we can amplify that love and that we can allow that to not only move our lives forward, but to move everyone's life forward on this planet. I was listening to a teacher the other day, and what they said was really profound. And I know what I was doing. I was listening to, I'm very much like curious about how plants can heal us. And I was listening to this lecture about plant medicine. And one of the people that was sharing about, one of the facilitators shared that when they were doing plant medicine, there was a moment where they recognized the depth of oneness, and that anything that you do, I'm doing, because we are that one. So anytime there is like turmoil, that is my turmoil. And it's like getting to that level where you're of consciousness, where you do believe that, if there's violence, that you are that violence in some way, can be really ridiculously hard, and it may be unfathomable. Why would I associate myself with something that doesn't make sense? It's not saying that you are violent, but that we are all creating a reality. We're co-creating it together. And I think Martin Luther King Jr. really got that. And that's why Martin Luther King Jr. was all about peace, because he recognized that the only way we were going to heal the violence that's within us in any given moment, the collective violence that we feel, is by acknowledging that energy is our brother and is our sister, and it's about bringing them home. It's about creating a way for all of that energy to come home. AOC also said that. I really respect and love AOC, Alexandria, and her work. And she's always talking about in regards to Republicans who have kind of lost their way and who are connected with, and really wanting to vote for Donald Trump. And she's just like, he galvanized people towards a message of hate because people lost their hope. And there's this recognition that people who are acting in violence, people who are acting in ways that are evil, are just children, God's children who have just lost all hope. And that the only way we can support healing, maybe even toxic family members or even toxic people around us, is to recognize in some way we are them. That they represent a shadow part of our own, of something within us. And that level of consciousness and thinking can be really ridiculously weird to fathom, that somehow someone somewhere doing something horrible is in some way, in any way related to your consciousness at all. But that's how connected we are on this planet, that we're all from God. Every single person, every single thing is created in God. And as humans, we also recognize that there's so much suffering here, and that we are part of a collective suffering, and that there is no separation. And so our people can live in fancy, secluded places or want to build a rocket ship to Mars to escape. There isn't any escape. There's just the idea that we have to really act on this, on behalf of this oneness and this love. And this message to this week feels super big. It feels political. It feels like it's on a bigger arena, because I think that's what's happening right now. There's this understanding that we're coming out of our isolation and we're moving into collective inspiration. And if you're not seeing that in your everyday lived experience, if you don't feel inspired, if you're seeing a lot of negativity, I just invite you to refrain from pulling your energy into that, pulling your energy into drama or trauma. I invite that from you. I mean, for me, like, I recognize when I see someone who's homeless, and I recognize in some way I'm a part of their homelessness. Not that in any way that I made them homeless directly, but we exist in the same frequency. I'm witnessing this person and their struggle, and in some way I am a part of that. And so I bless them. I don't look at them as being this homeless person. I look at them as a person who is currently experiencing homelessness. And I bless them. I look at these Republicans who are spitting out hatred, and I look at them and I'm like, these people have lost their way. And it's only going to hurt their spirit, of which I'm connected with. We're bound together in this dance, the light and the dark. And it's like, I bless them. I'm like, may you find the light. I don't ever think as spiritual people that we're better than anyone, that we think that we have all the answers, because regardless of who you are, you're going to suffer on this planet. And a huge part of kind of helping to clear and heal the suffering is for us to pray for people that don't look like us. And so I really do believe in Martin Luther King Jr.'s energy and what he believes in. And I love to give myself permission to pray in that way. It feels really good to be holding light in that way. And I hope it feels good for you to hold light in that way too. Well, I just went over today. I got caught up in wanting to express something that felt important. I hope to see you back next week, where we'll talk more about the energies. And we're going to be shifting in 2020. We're going to be shifting the show a lot. There's going to be a lot of guest speakers. I myself am going through so much personal transformation to make that possible, to have that expansion. I love having people on this show. I think there's so much magic that can be made with the power of 2 or more. But I thank you for listening to me in my solo journey right now and sharing this information with you. If there's anything you want to talk about, you can, please. I love that people are interacting with me. Email me at adorableearthangel. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know what you want to discuss. Any metaphysical topic. I love to be in conversation. I want to know that my work is really supporting you, that it's uplifting you, that it's giving you the energy and the messages that you need to support your life. I'm always just an uplifter. I always try to be. So yeah, please connect with me. Please check out the music that I've selected for you this week. I hope you enjoy and jam out to it. I love you. Have a beautiful rest of your week. And until next time, love and light.